All right, everybody, welcome back to the Kleen-Rite Radio podcast. I'm Fix It with Phil, and as always, I'm joined with my good buddy, Marc Tyndale. Marc, how we doing this morning?
Phil, I'm doing great today. We have the pleasure of having Cameron Alleman here today from Mermaid Car Wash. Cameron, can you tell us real quick a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Cameron, as Marc said. 31 years old. We have 12 locations currently here in central Pennsylvania, and I love car washes. Talking car washes, working on them, anything car wash related, you'll find me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm beyond excited about this conversation because Cameron has started from truly the bottom and worked his way up, right? We went from one wash to 12 washes in not a very long time. In my opinion, not a very long time.
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
That's a huge bit. That's some serious scaling, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing it on your own, you're figuring it all out. And I'm just really excited to have this conversation and dive into your mindset, how you did it, and how you figured all that out, right? So this is going to be great.
Kind of a perfect track. I mean, we were talking before this, and Cameron had more of a trade school track, which is perfect for owning and operating 12 car washes. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
So let's just start at the beginning and work through it. How did you get into car washing?
So I've always wanted to own my own business. Had no idea what that looked like. We had done, my wife and I, and even before that, had done like a chicken barbecue business that my grandfather kind of was doing on the side for like fundraisers and stuff. So like every Saturday through the summer, not every Saturday, but a lot of them, cooking chicken barbecue, like 400 chicken halves for a church or a youth group or sports teams, things like that. So that was kind of, when my grandfather didn't want to do it anymore, I sort of took that over. And so that was sort of my first inkling into actually running a business.
So you got some business experience there. That's good.
Yeah. I grew up on a farm, so that's kind of like a small business in and of itself. So kind of seeing the ins and outs of that helped a ton, and having that kind of work ethic experience growing up, I think helped a ton. So yeah, that's
what schooling wise. Did you go to college? Did you go to trade school?
So I graduated high school, and soon after that, I went to welding classes in the evening to kind of get my foot in the door at a local manufacturer, because that's a good skill to have too. Even if that didn't work out, I wanted to know how to weld something to fix something like on the farm, or later in life I could do that. Yeah. So that's really the only proper schooling I've had, is the high school education and a couple welding certificates.
So When did you make the transition, or when did you get your foot in the door, and why did you pick car washing?
Car washing, I think, so I had done pressure washing for a friend of mine. It was like one of my first jobs. I was 16 working summers for him. So I knew pressure washers, chemicals, kind of the basics, and I could rebuild them, things like that. And I learned a lot from him. And then I got a job in water treatment, like bottled water, commercial water systems, anything water related, deionized water, things like that. So I kind of understood water decently, enough to be dangerous. And I think I was driving around in my work truck one day, saw a car wash probably with a line of cars, and thought to myself, well, that'd be an okay business. Like, I don't see the owner there. He's probably on the beach living life, living
all the
large.
time. That's all they do.
And, naive me thought that. And so I started to do a little research and thought that would be a great little hobby business, side business, kind of like the chicken barbecue was. And at that point, I was already engaged. And so while we were kind of planning our wedding, we were also business planning. So it was a very interesting point of life. She was planning the wedding. I was writing the business plan. We were actually going to build a car wash. Like, I had a friend of mine who went to school for architecture and engineering. He drew up the plans. We had a piece of land figured out. We were working with equipment distributors, getting quotes, pricings, things like that. Of course, the land was just way too expensive. So we had to reach out to everybody we were working with, the banks, the equipment distributors, and say, hey, put everything on hold. The land's too expensive. We got to find another piece. And then sometime in the next 6 weeks, one of the distributors reached back out, and they're like, hey, we know you want to build in this town. One town over, there's a car wash for sale. And ironically enough, it was one that I had gone to for ideas, measurements, pictures, things like that. And it was one that my wife liked the most. It was on her way to work, and she liked it. And it had a really fun name to it. And so we kind of changed the business plan a little bit from building to buying. And 9 months after that, we signed the paper and got the keys.
What did the first year to 3 years of you and your wife owning that car wash, what did that look like? What did your life look like? What did your work schedule look like? Right. Yeah. Let's give a realistic idea of getting yourself into car washing, what it actually takes.
And what were the aha moments? You know, after you took the keys?
There's so many. I mean, it wasn't a neglected car wash per se, but there were things that needed attention. So I'd be working from 8 to 4:30, and I would either go in before or I would do both. I would go to the car wash around 5 or 6, work a little bit, go to work, come home, eat dinner, kiss my wife and head out the door, and probably work till midnight. Some nights, 2 or 3 in the morning, she'd be texting me, "Hey, you coming home soon? Is everything okay?" But she has no idea. Just like, I could be stuck in a belt or something. Who knows? You think worst case scenario at 2 in the morning.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was some very long days learning the car wash, because I knew nothing about car washes other than like water flowing downhill. So I had to learn everything from, the electronics, pumps, all the new stuff to me.
So you worked full-time job, and then before the full-time or after the full-time or both, you were at the site.
Yeah.
Learning the site, learning the equipment, learning how to run the business itself.
Yeah, and there was a part-time employee who would help throughout the week as well. Then I learned from him.
And he stayed on for the previous.
He did. He stayed on for about a year and a half.
Okay, that's helpful, right?
Oh, extremely helpful. Yeah. But still, there was a lot to do. I was still doing like the trash, spraying the bays, emptying vacuums. Everything involved with a car wash, and there's a lot to it.
Yeah,
so it's long days.
How long were you at the one site? Right, the first buy was one site. How long were you at one site till you and your wife said, let's do more?
It was about 3 years.
And what was the thought process or the decision of let's go from one to more?
So it was kind of twofold. It was the closest car wash to us, so it would have been, like competition, but it was also the most rundown car wash. So it wasn't competition at the time, but our fear was I was like, what if somebody like me comes and buys that one? Then, I actually have like some good competition.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I'm in the same town, I kind of want to grow the brand a little bit. We're doing well at this one. Let's move it over to here. That was kind of our mentality between getting that second one. It came on the market, and we just thought we needed to move forward with it.
After mapping out and budgeting and probably going to the bank or using private financing, I'm sure the reason you were able to get to 12, right, is you realize very quickly that it's very expensive to build a new one. It takes a lot of time before you can start taking money in. And the rehab, tell us a little bit about like the delta that you saw between the two. It's a trick question because I kind of know the answer, but from your eyes.
Yeah. So when we were, before we got into the industry, looking at building one, we were only going to build a 3-in-1, 3 self-serve, 1 automatic. And that would have cost about $400,000 more than a 5-in-2 already existing. And that's like, that's immense. And it still wouldn't have had all the capabilities and functions that some of the, ones that could already be built have.
Yeah. And I think, that's what you budgeted for, because a lot of times when you build new, it could be another 200,000 more than what you thought.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the rehabs.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of operational shock that goes on when you figure that portion out and then you decide you're going to buy instead of build. So, right, if you build, everything's brand new, right? And you're kind of maintaining that. But if you buy, you're buying somebody else's problems essentially, right? So what what did the, daily life of working full time, owning one wash to owning multiple washes, how did that change, and how did you change how you operate as an operator?
Nothing per se changed. The days were still just as long, if not longer. By the time we got to our third car wash, which was in the same year of the second car wash, that's where I kind of realized I can't do this all the time. So I had to not be full-time anymore, do part-time work, and then still do the car washes. And we did that for about 2 years, maybe not even that. And I just went full-time with the car washes.
Did it make more sense to go full-time than to kind of like look for a manager that you trust? And because they would have called you anyway to do a lot of stuff, and you probably wanted to do it.
I think I wanted to do it. I was fully in and passionate about it, even then. Awesome. And so I still would have gone that route.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit. So when you take a site over, do you like let it roll for a while, figure out what you can do? Are you a go in and gut it guy, or are you like you ramp up slowly? Tell us your process.
So the process has been bumpy and not ideal. Like in my mind, I have a process that I would like to do, but in reality, over the past 12 months, it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Which is like anything in business. But the first things we do is just go in and fix the obvious stuff. Like if solenoids aren't opening, cosmetics, like just making the place work. Because a lot of times, there's things that have just been neglected. Oh yeah, like that vacuum just has never had good suction.
Yeah.
Or that pump, has always stuttered like that. Just going in and fixing the basics and starting there is really kind of what we start with. And then before we rebrand it, we want to make sure it's at like my quality of
okay.
Of
so
wash.
you wait a little bit to rebrand. That's
however long it takes. Because I don't want to just throw our brand around and it be on something that isn't up to my standards.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at the current name and obviously work to make improvements and make it better that whole time. But I wait for the rebrand until it's up to our standards.
Yeah, actually that's genius. You're buying yourself a little bit of time to get that work done before you put your name on it.
You put your name on it, then you create all that pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with like the under new ownership or under new management thing. If I'm there, I tell customers we're under new ownership, but I try not to put that up and out there until we do the rebrand.
Yeah.
Because then people think it's like a light switch. Under new management, everything's a miracle now and it works.
Yeah, everything is better.
Yeah, and so I think you just got to be kind of careful with that. But definitely you want to rebrand or say you're under new ownership, but when you're ready, like you don't want to do it, and then everybody's coming that first Saturday and they're like, oh, it's the same.
Yeah. So this is the same wash it was before. They didn't do anything. They're not going to do anything.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was 3. What happened between 3 and 12?
A lot. More than a lot. I mean, we, in the last January, we got our 4th one. And then by November, right before Thanksgiving, we had closed on our 12th one.
Holy smokes.
So we had 9 new car washes in 11 months.
Now, what vehicle are you, is this cash? Is it private financing?
A little bit of everything. So we're doing conventional financing,
so
owner
blend
financing.
Okay.
The one deal was actually a little bit of a blend between the owner financing some of it and then the bank financing some of it as well. That is one thing I forgot to point out at the beginning. We started with an SBA loan.
Oh, okay.
So we only had to put down 10%, which was thankfully all that we had.
Yeah.
I don't know why they gave us the money, but they did.
They probably wouldn't today, so you're lucky it was a while ago.
Looking back, I can't believe that any bank, even backed by the SBA, the federal
You don't have
program,
to mention the bank, but who was it?
I'm very happy. And we have a great relationship with our bank, Mid-Penn, if you're in Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah, it's a good bank.
Check them out. They're great. But yeah, looking back, there's no reason a 23-year-old should have been given that kind of responsibility.
I'm sure that people listening to this are probably pretty interested in what did that experience look like? Like, what was your preparation at 23 going to ask the bank for a loan to get a business? Did you go with like full plans? Did you have, a mock-up of how everything you thought was going to go? Or did you walk in and say like, hey, I want to buy this car wash. I need a loan. And then they, told you to make a plan. Like, what'd that look like?
Yeah. So, because I knew that we needed an SBA loan and in order to only put down 10%, the SBA had a lot of great resources for business planning. And they had obviously worked with other lenders and stuff. So there's an SBA office out near Shippensburg near me that helped with everything. Like I kind of put together a business plan. I'd go and meet with them and they'd be like, okay, this is what you should change. This is what the lender looks for. You should probably have this in there or that.
Yeah.
And so they were extremely helpful in that planning process, telling me what I should do and not do. But yeah, it ended up being like a 45-page, business plan from what we were going to do for promotions and how to grow the business. Because the other struggle is, as any business owner, they're trying to limit their tax liability. So there wasn't much profit being shown. So I had to convince the bank and the SBA that I could change that. Like I could save money on landscaping because I'm going to do it myself.
The ongoing concern is what
Yeah. And so I had to convince them of all of those things, of the savings that I could do. And then of course, growing the business to help, pay back the loan.
And once you prove the model once or twice, it's a lot easier to go back. And,
Yeah. So then when
they
we
love
got the
you.
second one, we did conventional financing because they're like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
You proved it out the first time, you'll do it again this time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
awesome.
It's good having a good relationship.
And he
like
still
that.
has time to talk a little bit of you're president of the car wash, the Pennsylvania Car Wash Association.
Correct. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been a part of the association for probably 3 or 4 years now, maybe even a little longer. But it's something, I think everybody should be involved with their local association or just networking in general, whether it be through a car wash association or even your local, business chapter in your town or something. Networking has been, I think, a huge part of getting me to where I am today.
Yeah.
And so being a part of the association, learning from all the other operators and vendors and knowing what's out there is huge. And so now I'm president of it and really enjoying what we're doing and what we have going on.
It's awesome to hear you say that because it is something that we talk about here and that we talk about at Kleen-Rite in general. People forget that the car wash industry isn't just an industry, it's a community, right? And if you join your local chapter or you reach out to another car wash owner, 90% of the time, right? Everybody wants to help everybody succeed, even though there's some competition and, all that kind of stuff. Generally in this industry, car washers want to talk about what they're doing or how to fix what you have going on, right? Yeah. So whether that's through Facebook groups, your local car wash association chapter, or like you said, even just if you get into the business chapter in your area, right? Just being able to talk to other business owners and understand how to run a business better, right? Because not everybody already owns a car wash and is going to scale to 12 car washes. Some people are out there, that 23-year-old kid that's working full time is trying to figure out, well, how do I get into this industry? And joining a car wash association is a good way to understand how to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
let's pivot again. So when you have 12 sites, right, one of the biggest challenges is, with the multi-sites standardization, right, for your brand, right, and getting everything on the same platform, because we have a problem in the industry, especially when you acquire sites. You might have 3 different payment platforms just on one site.
Yeah.
So how do you attack that? And when you're talking about it, tell us any of your mistakes or regrets, and then tell us where you're going.
It's definitely hard to fight that fragmentation, and to get to that standardization. But probably my biggest regret with any of it is not doing it fast enough or soon enough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So adding like tap to pay, or even the memberships, things like that.
Did you kind of wait and or was it confidence or was it monetary? Or
it was mostly monetary, because doing this self-funding and stuff, we got a budget and plan accordingly, for the slow times and the good times. But looking back, I've always been less risk averse. And so I always kind of played on the safe side. But when it comes to certain things like tap to pay or count up or memberships, like those things, I probably waited a little too long
because they pay for
some,
themselves.
They pay for themselves. Like the ROI on those is so much faster.
Yeah.
And that, like, hindsight's 2020. So now, like the sites we just are acquiring and have acquired, we're doing that much sooner.
Yeah.
And kind of going a little bit riskier and faster on that. And it also like grows our brand a little faster too, and the standardization.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
It is a great answer because there's not a lot of people out there that look at it that way, right? Everybody's like, well, I might do it. We'll see. So to hear somebody that's scaling in such a rapid movement like you are, to outwardly say right away, like the payment options are like dire straits, right? Don't put it off. Right. It's not a risk. It's a guaranteed ROI.
The customer facing stuff you almost have to do instantly.
So customer, as we talk about customer facing or move into that and think about, you were saying you hold off on rebranding sites till they're up to what you believe they should be, is, like a standard bay gear change out, new foam brushes, new guns, new hoses, stuff like that. Is that one of the criteria of before I rebrand, all this needs to be changed at minimum?
All the hoses need to be the same color.
All the same color, all the same
I'm sure you buy many sites where every bay is a different gun, different color hose, different decals on the meter boxes. This simple low-hanging fruit, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The bays for sure. Now it's tough too with some of the sites we're buying because some have like, an 8-position rotary dial, some have 12. So some of our sites still, like ultimately they're all going to have 12-position options, but some of them right now are 8. But they are still under our brand because we made that 8 work and are really well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we'll add those other positions down the road. But
so what is the deciding factor to brand, to switch your brand?
For us, it's the memberships. So once we can offer memberships at that site with our platform, that's the deciding point. Because like we right now, like if you're a member at Mermaid, I don't want to put our logo up on another car wash, and they're like, "Wait, I can't use that one."
Right.
So that's the
and yours are all fairly regionally close
sense
enough. How many people in the 12 sites? I mean, I find that. With me, they use maybe two to three sites per member. You see about the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the identity shift. The phrase that gets tossed around sometimes when you scale a business, not quickly, but when you scale a business from 1 to 12 washes, right? People think that, I'm going to have 12 washes. It was said earlier in the podcast, right? I'm going to be sitting on the beach, right? Everybody's going to take care of everything. This is passive. Talk a little bit about your experience of moving from 1 to 12 washes and how do you believe that it's passive? How much time are you putting into this, right? Just to give a little background on that for people to understand like what it really takes.
Yeah. It can be passive, but I don't think that that's going to be very successful for you. I think just like any business, you need to be involved. You gotta, the grass is green where you water it. So that's my mentality with that is I'm involved with everything. If I see something that needs done, I do it. But I realize too now that I can't be doing that stuff as often, as much as I love to do it. Like there's things like I wish I could still like, take the time to like rebuild a pump or swivels all the time. I enjoy that stuff. But I realize now that as part of the business growing, I can't do that as often. And so like our people are the next best thing to that. We couldn't have 12 sites or even 3 sites without the help that I have.
How many employees do you have?
So we currently have 2 full-time employees, 9 part-time employees. And even the part-time employees, I mean, we're batting 1,000. They're awesome. And they're really, I think, the reason that we're so successful. And they understand that. Like they see the vision of like what we're doing, and they're almost like proud to like be a part of it and be that help and like work, as a team and everything.
They're buying into the brand.
Yeah.
I love it though. 12 sites and 12 employees. That's a great model.
Yeah.
And that's why people love self-serve IBA. to be honest with you.
How much, no business schooling background, you high school and welding, right? How much do you rely on your intuition versus like data collection or information that you find on the internet or so on to make a business decision within the washes, whether it's a business decision at one wash or now that you're at 12 across the entire brand?
It was a lot of trial and error, and I like to think it's my intuition, but I'm also like a data person. So like I'm looking at the numbers all the time and trying to find correlations. Because in the car wash industry, it's really hard to pin down. I think you guys have talked about it a lot, how to know why a customer comes when they do. And so for me, I'm also like trying to crack that egg of why are customers the way they are. But data is a huge part of that. I mean, you have to look at the data and know your numbers. I don't know that I know any successful car washer or even business person that doesn't know their numbers, like just even the basics. Right. So staying on top of your numbers, I think is key.
So Phil had it in the notes here. So how do you envision the next 10 years getting from the back room to the boardroom and working like on the business instead of in the business, but still being in touch with it so that you don't lose that customer experience, right? Where do you see it going?
That's a good question, because if you would have asked me this last year, I wouldn't have told you I'd be here, 12 sites today.
Well, you had to get to 12 to be on our podcast. So
that's right.
That's kind of the. No, I'm just kidding.
I know that like I need to change a lot, like operationally, because at 12 sites, efficiency is key. If something's costing you an extra $1, times that by 12, times that by 365 days a year, it adds up fast. Even at one site, like I was very in tune with budgeting and saving money and trying to get the best bang for my buck, buying stainless all the time. It's never worth it for me to cheap out on stuff like that. Right. So those kind of habits, I want to kind of keep with me and just really try and get efficient with everything, buying in bulk, when you guys do your sales on tire foam, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's those kind of things and they add up,
I think that's great. So what's the one thing that, as Mark said, as you transition from, boots on the ground every day to more of the boardroom-esque running the businesses, what's the one thing that you feel like you'll never let go? That one thing that you believe every car wash owner out there should do habitually?
I think that's a question we should ask each other. All of us should answer that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I mean, I know what mine is.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, you go.
I make sure I use it. Like I go through and use them. For me, I work at a different, because I have a full-time job. I work at a more of a
business level,
more of a management aspect of it. And I just make sure I use it enough that I don't lose touch, and that's what I do.
Yeah. Cameron?
Yeah, I think the same exact thing like Mark was saying is like with 12 sites and who knows how many sites in 10 years, I always want to be going as often as I can and just kind of making sure everything's working. I'm going to vacuum out my car. I'm going to try the tire shine. I'm going to try the vendors. I'm going to, do all of those things. And I mean, that's what I'm doing right now with 12 sites. Yeah. Is doing that exact thing.
You pay cash or credit when you go through?
Both, because I got to make sure both works.
There you go. I love it. Mine would follow suit, but obviously I love self-serve, so I love to wash my truck by myself, right, in the bay and experience all those functions, which puts me in tune with the data portion because I know how long it takes me to wash my truck, so I can kind of guesstimate what it takes everybody else. But my biggest thing is I don't just drive through, right? I get out. Every time I go to a site, I get out and I walk through it, right? Because you could just whip through the parking lot and kind of do a spot check from the windshield, a windshield check, right? But, getting out, opening the door, walking in the equipment room quick and just listening and making sure that nothing sounds out of place. I think sometimes that gets overlooked, that just taking the time to walk in the equipment room, take a second, actually look over everything, not like physically put wrenches on, but just give a visual, right? Make sure that visual is the same visual you had the week before, and then move on.
I have this habit, and you guys probably do the same thing. If you park in front of the equipment room door, especially if it's a semi-busy day, and you leave the door open and then you do that loop, walk around the vacuums and walk in front of the pay stations, you'll get great feedback. And you'll people are so gracious when you're talking to them. They tell you they love the place, and they might have a complaint for you, but most of the time it's all very positive.
Yeah.
It's just a good practice.
I think I'm really glad that you said that, because I feel like that's the one thing that does happen when you get so caught up with car washing in general.
Yeah.
You're too busy to talk to your customers. And I'm so glad that you said that, because that should be everybody's 1% rule. If your customer wants to talk to you, you should talk to them.
We've purchased car washes where they're like, oh my God, that guy before you was so mean.
Yeah.
They would yell at us for our cars being dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Customer service is huge.
Yeah.
And especially there's a stigma with self-serve car washes that nobody's there, nobody answers the phone.
Yeah.
And I think trying to change that, for us, every time somebody calls us and we call them back like right away, they're like stuttering because they don't expect a phone call back. They're like, hi, thanks. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a call back.
Yeah.
And, like you said, talking to those customers and kind of building that relationship with them, I think, helps a ton. Like last night, I called a customer back at like 7:20. I was on the phone with him for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He liked to talk, but I listened and, heard what he had to say. It was for one of our new sites, and he was excited for what we had planned. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. And when you do things like that, you make a customer for life, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So, we're going to wrap this up, soon, but like what does success look for you? Like, are you midfield right now trying to get to the end zone? Or are you like almost where you want to be? Like, talk a little bit about, are you going to get to 24 sites, or
is there a stop point, or is 12, it just till I can't handle it anymore?
Yeah.
Because there is a 12 perfect sites might be better than 24 loosely run sites. So you have to make that decision, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I don't have a stop point in my mind. I never really did. I think my wife would like me to.
Yeah.
But she's huge too, part of our success. But I don't have like that end goal of like, okay, I'm done like at 24. Because to me, every time we go into a new community and be able to give that car wash the facelift, the change, the community involvement, I get a lot of like satisfaction out of that. And so I think part of it too is kind of like leaving that legacy. Like to me, that's the success. Whenever, even now, people come to me like, hey, like you hosted my daughter's tennis team here, and she's like, I think that's great. Like, thanks for doing that. So little things like that, like I already feel like I've made it, and even at one car wash, I could have fell over dead then, and I would have no regrets and enjoyed every single thing I did.
Yeah.
So I kind of live each day like that. And that's kind of like two things I do every day. Do something to make somebody else thankful, and then do something to make my future self thankful.
Yeah.
Well, you fit our mold, car washing 24/7.
Yeah, he absolutely is car washing 24/7. I'm sure you never stop thinking about it like we do.
No, it's hard. You never unplug.
Yeah, you can't. And not that that's a bad thing, because you can have really great days. You can have those really bad days. But like you said, you can be thankful for every one of them. And I love that part of that answer was so community focused, because we are business owners and we do need to turn a dollar, right? We all need to get paid, and we need to be able to pay for what we're doing. But it goes along with being in touch with your customers, and that's being in touch with your community, because your community is what makes you successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I love hearing you say that you are focused on making sure that you are part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
What a great cherry on top of the sundae that was. That was good.
absolutely. All right, I think that's going to close this episode out. Cameron, we just want to give you a big thanks for being in on the podcast. We know this won't be the last time. There's a ton more to talk about. Just big thank you to you coming and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for everything that you guys do for the industry.
You're welcome. And by the way, I want to thank our sponsor. We actually did not ask Cameron to wear the Lil Tree hat, but Lil Tree sponsored this series, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you guys.